That's good. Okay. Sorry this lighting is weird. It's like cozy? Really dark. That's alright. You don't need to look at my face. Today is day 8 of DecoWriMo. Welcome to the video. I have not written yet today. I plan on doing that right now as soon as I get you guys caught up on what's going on. I've split this story into 3 main parts. I like to look at stories more naturally. You know, for me, they just kind of flow. As the stakes get higher, things get more real and intense, and then you get the climax and there's the falling action. I like to go by the traditional boop. For the purposes of this story, I have my intro, which is here, and then I'm calling it the chase, sort of like this part here, and then we have the climax, which I'm calling the discovery, and then we just kind of get into the falling action and then round out the story. But I have currently written 6 scenes, which, if you remember, day 1 of DecoWriMo, I didn't write anything. It was all outlining. Today's day 8. Does that mean I'm on track, or am I like behind? I'm not too sure, but that's okay, because I have officially rounded out the intro of my story. And by intro, I just mean introducing all the characters and the places that I need to establish before we can actually get the ball rolling. My inciting incident, which is the first little like pop up here, is Florence meeting the newly departed dude for the very first time, and that's what gets this ball rolling for at least him. For her, the story is not going to kick off until probably like this scene or the next one, when like her fire gets lit for why it is that she's going to help him sort of figure out how he died and why he's stuck in the cemetery. With that all being said, I'm gonna go ahead and get down to it. So let's get to writing. Really quick before I get into it, I don't know about you guys, but I am a big music listener when I am writing and when I'm editing. It's funny, when I'm writing, I don't mind so much like lyrics and like recognizable songs, but for writing, specifically this story, so I was finding that I was getting like distracted by the lyrics and stuff that I was listening to. So I remembered in one of my favorite artist's songs, he had a French like artist kind of come in and do like what are they called? It's not called a cameo, but it's like, you know, they come in and they sing some verses, and I really liked his voice. I thought he was really cool. I listened to some of his stuff, and that kind of got me on like this French sort of rap, hip hop, just music like thread. So I came across this guy. His name, I'm probably gonna butcher it, I'm so sorry, but his name is Achule. His stuff is awesome, and it's really kind of soothing because I get the whole like lyrics thing, but I have no idea what he's saying, so I can't get distracted by his words. I've been kind of listening to him on repeat. If you're looking for something a little different, I would check him out. But anyways, all right, that's my PSA for the night. So I didn't film yesterday, but I did write, and the writing so far is going pretty good, I would say. Ever since I decided to write 1,000 words a day, I've been sticking to that goal. A few of these days I've done more. The rest of the time I either hit the mark or like just barely hit the mark. I have like spontaneously added maybe 1 or 2 scenes, and information that I was originally going to include in some scenes I included in other scenes, or changed even the information a little bit, because as the story progresses, the narrator or the other characters, they learn certain things along the way, things that progress the story, and some things that I thought I would bring up sooner I decided to bring up later, and vice versa. There's also some aspects that I kind of figured out for myself as I went along that I wasn't expecting to figure out, so I added those things in. You know, things to just make the story that much more intricate, and I mean, as realistic as this world is, I guess I'm just making it more realistic. And like I've said it once, and I'll say it again probably till the day I die, nothing in a story is set in stone. I feel like there can be a lot of pressure sometimes to get like the right story out the first time, and that's just not the case. It can be tricky sometimes to reveal information that you as a writer already know, and the tricky part is in deciding when to reveal it to the reader, when to reveal it to the characters even. Especially if a certain character or even the narrator has something to hide. For example, Florence, my main character, my first person narrator, has like not a secret, but just information that hasn't been revealed yet to the reader that I want to come about naturally, like through her explaining it to another character. So to kind of hint at that without having Florence like recount this part of herself that the reader will come to understand further on in the story, it's tricky, and you know, finding the balance of revealing too much or withholding something without making it feel like you're withholding something. Like, I don't want the reader to feel like the main character or me, like the writer, is holding something back from them. I want to make it seem like the narrator just doesn't think about this certain part of herself. 1, because she's determined to lock it away, and 2, it's not relevant to the story yet. Or really, it's not relevant enough to bring up until a certain point in the story, until she hits her breaking point, really, is when this big, not revelation, but just big motivator for her becomes very clear to the reader. And leaving leaving a trail of breadcrumbs for the reader is, I think, a lot more complex and subtle than we initially realize it's going to be. Sorry, there's a plane. I don't know if you can hear it, probably not, but it's really loud. And as a first draft, you know, I think it would be very unrealistic for you to get it right the first time, you know, to spread out this subtle plot line in a very cohesive way and a very realistic way. Like, it's really hard to gauge what you want to say and when until everything is said and done, and then you can look back and reflect on certain things, especially through new eyes, you know, pretending for a moment that you didn't just write this, that as a reader coming across it the first time are things being said and presented in a way where a real reader would be like able to follow along and not feel like they're being, you know, like chumped, you know what I mean? So this is the first story where my narrator is like withholding something basically from the reader, or just not contemplating something that has happened in her past. In the past, all of my narrators have been really open books. Certain characters have always withheld something from them. In this case, having a narrator who tries very, very hard to contain herself and to not think about certain things to the point where she's blocked them so much from her own mind that it takes another character coming in and breaking down those walls for her to start to remember and reflect on certain things. It's very new territory for me, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And ultimately, for me to get this point across the first time around is just not possible, and I need to lower my expectations in that regard. You know, I need to do my best to pace things out as well as I can now without having written the whole thing, but definitely being prepared enough to know that there is something underneath the surface that will be brought about in time is always a really good place to start. I think it's very important to know your characters before you begin a story, and especially their motivators, and even more importantly, their weaknesses, because having a protagonist with at least like one major flaw just makes for a very interesting story and a very interesting time. So good. Peppermint marshmallows. That's where it's at. Okay, enough of my little spiel. I'm gonna get down to writing for the night. We are definitely getting into the meat of the story, as I like to say. The ball is certainly rolling, and I just hope that I can keep up this momentum. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Hello. Oh god, I look literally insane. Speaking of momentum and keeping the ball rolling, I didn't write yesterday. So here's the situation. I have 2 hours before I have to leave to go to Christmas Town, and I know I will not be writing when I get home because it's cold outside and I know it's gonna be a time, so I won't even like kid myself into thinking I can write when I get back. I wanted to finish off this week having written 10,000 words. Right now I'm currently sitting at 8,000. I am at the point in this story where I am having doubts. I rarely hit this wall where I look back at my story and I'm like, I don't like it. I don't like anything about it. I don't like how it's going. No one's gonna want to read this. It's not interesting. Like, it's not fun to read. That's probably not the case. I mean, it might be. I just know that it's just like my mind just being overloaded by all of the writing I've done, and the fact that right now I'm going for quantity over quality. In a rough draft, that's what you gotta do. You know, you can't expect it to be perfect. As someone who likes things to be perfect and likes to nail something the first time around, knowing that there's a lot of stuff that I have to go back and be like fix, it's just subconsciously getting to me. Like my right mind, my right state of mind that I'm in now knows that it's fine. It's no big deal. But underlying, my brain is like, this can't go on, Winter. Like, it's just not happening. I am telling myself right now that I will write for the next 2 solid hours. My goal is 10,000 words. By God, I'm gonna get to 10,000 words. Will they be a good 2,000 words to get to 10K? Probably not, but after the 2,000 words, the story will have progressed, and that's my ultimate goal here, is to progress the story, to finish the story in this month. And hopefully by the end of it, I will be thinking differently about how it's been. I will have come to realize that it's not really that bad, that after editing, it might be readable. I'm gonna get to writing. I'm also gonna end this video here on a little bit of a cliffhanger, so you won't know until next week whether I managed to write my 2,000 words. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this little series so far. Hope you are staying safe, and good luck with whatever writing project you are working on at the moment.